Hi everybody, it's 7 o'clock. This is Facebook. It's amazing to be back here with you this week. It must be time for Art School, so hit it, Liam.
Art School! It's Art School! It's like normal school, but more arty, 'cause it's
Art School!
Okay, so this week I thought it'd be really interesting to do a show all about painting. You know, where we've got to with painting. Is it still viable? I mean, looking at the end of year shows, there's so much work being made that isn't painting. Lots of installation work, lots of video work, digital stuff, web art, that kind of thing. But obviously, I'm a painter, so painting is really, really important to me. And it seems that painting is also really, really important to the market as well. I mean, look at an artist like Jean-Michel Basquiat, for example. His piece just fetched $110 million at auction. So obviously painting is still important to somebody. Or an artist like, let's say, Francis Bacon. His work goes for absolutely fortunes, and it's still really important work. It tells us about the human condition, how it was to be alive, that kind of stuff. It's really important. Nobody's taken it to the extreme of Bacon. Or perhaps even younger artists. We're seeing a trend where younger artists, maybe they've only even had 1 or 2 shows and they're selling for mega amounts of money. Artists like Lucian Smith, for example, is going for a lot and is definitely a painter. And then we've got the old boys, people like David Hockney. He's still doing his thing. And artists like Picasso, whose piece Guernica is still there at the UN to remind everybody about the dangers and the horror of war. Now, since the beginning of time, humans have scribbled on the walls of caves, that kind of thing, and they're still doing that. I mean, we do that with street art, don't we? We go and express ourselves on the street and say what we feel about the political situation or the times that we're in. One of the big things, of course, that happened to painting, and we don't have time to go into the whole history tonight, is that photography came about, which made painters free at last to paint whatever they want. They could delve into abstraction and they could throw paint around and they could get visceral and emotive and play around with paint as a material. And nowadays, painting still seems to be relevant, at least to me, with artists like Kerry James Marshall talking about race and ethnicity, delving back into art history and recontextualizing it. So we're going to look at some of those issues today. We're going to play Art of Art. We're going to play Brilliant or Bananas. I've got a very, very special guest as always, and it's just really good to be here. So if you're out there, then don't be shy. Say hi, let us know where you're from, and get involved with Art School, and that'll be really, really cool. One person has asked a question that I thought was really, really interesting. Freddie has asked a question about using pigments in his work, and he's written in and he's said, when he's using pigment in medium, he always finds it goes kind of see-through when he paints it. But if he adds more pigment, it kind of goes all claggy and he can't paint with it. How does he stop this? It's a very, very good question. So I'm going to do a little bit of a make today and show you that. But during the show, if you've got any questions, if you've got anything that you really, really want to ask me about painting or materials or anything like that, then don't be scared to hit the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Right, Freddie, for you. Now, the first thing is that not all pigments are the same. Some of them are quite translucent and some of them are quite opaque. So that's your first thing. You need to check with the manufacturer of the pigment how translucent or not translucent it is. If it's a translucent pigment, there's nothing you can do with it. Now, not all mediums are the same either. Some of them take more pigment, some of them take less pigment. So for the case of this demo today, I'm going to use my own acrylic medium, which is called Super Base. Don't worry, it's not some crazy commercial, but I know this stuff really well. Hi Saffron, it's good you could join us. Right, so I'm going to use the Super Base, and the interesting thing about Super Base is it's a very open medium, so it can take almost more pigment actually than any other base. So I use the Super Base, and I'm going to demonstrate it with our pinkest pink as the pink. And Freddie, I'll show you how you go about doing this. There's two ways. So the first way is what you're going to do is you're going to take some of your pink or whatever pigment you're using, and you'll make a nice little mound, and we're going to create what we call a dispersion first. So this will stop that craggy thing that you're describing. And what we'll do is we'll just add a tiny little drop of water to the pigment, just a little bit, and we'll mix it in. And what you'll find is you start to get quite a smooth mix. So if you pre-mix your pigment like this with water, it will actually dilute it really nicely and make quite an ink-like dispersion that you can add into your medium later. And that's going to stop that craggy thing. So what you would do is you'd mix it in. I don't have time to do it thoroughly today, but you could even use a glass mauler and a block or a pestle and mortar or something, but you mix it in really well, and then you'll get yourself another space, and you'll put out a bit of your base, your acrylic medium, whatever it is, and you will add a little bit of that and stir it in, and that's going to stop that craggy effect, and before you know it you're going to have a really good, really smooth, workable paint. And the more of the dispersion you add, the thicker and better that's going to be. The other way you can do this, if you are using super base, is you can actually do this upside down. You can actually get some super base straight out the squeezy bottle, and you can put in a bit of your powder like this, and you want it to go craggy. You actually want this to go completely and utterly craggy. You want to overload it with pigment until it almost won't take any more, until it is a pasty, lumpy, bumpy mess. You basically want to break it. So you keep adding your pigment until it breaks. It's like baking a cake or something. When you've got a thick batter of the stuff, then when you want it to be workable again and you're fed up with it being too craggy, what you want to do is you want to very gradually and carefully start adding in a couple of drops of water. And that is going to get that back to the flow that you want for your work. And the other way you can build up those super flat layers of colour is to use a really soft brush, Freddie, and lots of layers, one on top of the other, and you can build it up like that, but start with good pigments, start with good acrylic binders, and that is the best way to do that. Hi Claire, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. So I'm just going to put these over here, and then hello to Maryland. Wow. Right, so that was the make. Hopefully that was useful, Freddie. Now we're going to play a little bit of a game that we love, where we decide if it is art or if it's fart.
Art or fart, art or fart.
Okay. So, the first piece we have today on Art or Fart is this one, which is Spot the Dog. And the way Art or Fart works, for those of you that don't know, is one of the pieces of art I'm going to show you today is actually a bona fide straight up artwork. The others aren't, they're actually fart. So, you guys need to vote. You need to tell me, is Spot the Dog art or is it fart? The next piece we have is this dotty spotty piece here. Now this picture is a painting and it's got dots and it's got spots. Is it art or is it fart? What do you guys think? And the last one is a photograph of a spot. So just to recap, we have Spot the Dog. Is Spot the Dog art or is Spot the Dog fart? We have a painting of some dotty spots and we have a nose spot. So what do we think? Claire, I think you're right. Spot the Dog. Spot the Dog is always art. Sam, you think this is art? You think the nose is definitely not art and it's fart? What if it's by some famous contemporary photographer? Tim, you think Spot the Dog's art? So does Emily. Okay. Is it time to tell you? Okay, I think, Saffron, you're right. I think in anyone's book, Spot the Dog has to be art, doesn't it? So Spot the Dog is in fact art. And this one, everybody was you guys were pretty unanimous on this, weren't you? You thought this was art. Yeah, so this is a painting by Yayoi Kusama. It's a dotty spotty painting. It is absolutely art. And the last one, Maria, you think this spot is art? I'm sorry, it's actually not. It's fart. So the results are art, definitely art, and fart. Thank you, Imran. Okay, so there you go. That was art or fart. Now, I don't know if you guys remember last week how many of you were here, but we had some amazing work. Can I just, I'll be back in a sec. You can't hear anything. Yeah, so last week we had some absolutely amazing work sent in, and it was absolutely brilliant. And one of the people who sent their work in was Nigel Fairbrother. And we thought, what an amazing thing to do. But let's go and find Nigel and let's actually invite him in to the show. So Nigel's on his way right now. And any minute, Nigel's going to be here. There's somebody at the door. We know who's at the door. It's Nigel. It's got to be Nigel at the door. Everybody, Nigel's at the door. Nice.
Hey,
how's it going?
good to see you.
It's great to see you. Thanks for coming.
ArtSchool.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Wow, thank you, Nigel. Should we pop these over here?
Yep.
How's it going?
Very good, thank you.
Oh, wow. Thanks for coming in.
That's great.
So, let's take a look at some of the things that you've been making. And that'd be wonderful. So, thank you for sending the work last week. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad you loved it. Thank you very much. It was a very inspiring topic.
Was it? Good.
Yeah.
I think the Queen piece was really interesting, and strangely, like, Facebook censored it, so we had to pull the post down and stuff. So, being as though the episode was about censorship, I think it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
So, one of the things I was going to ask you about is how you came to be a painter, because I think that's really interesting, how you kind of came to be doing that.
I think I pretty much followed art all my life. I'm a bit of an art groupie.
Sure.
And I dabbled in bits and pieces over the years. But it was about 18 months ago, it was after coming to your show, that I decided it was now or never, and I just threw myself into it with gusto and decided to start being creative.
Wow. And you've made so much work. It's just phenomenal. And you've brought some of these smaller pieces on canvas to show us. And I think this one of Theresa May is amazing. So tell me a bit about the process, Nigel, how you kind of come to make these things, like what you're using. And
actually, some of this was purely by accident. I found that I could actually put the canvas through a printer. Wow. And the ink didn't set because it was on canvas. And then I could manipulate it with UPVA glue, paints, water, and then I'd sort of add all that to it.
Wow, so you almost came across it by mistake?
Yes, yeah, it really was a pure accident. I wanted to distort the images anyway. I didn't want them to be just pure set images.
I think they're really beautiful, and they're very painterly, and what's interesting about them is that they've obviously got a computer in them, but to me they really are kind of pure paintings. There's a real painterly kind of gesture in them. Yeah,
I wanted them to actually be sort of quite fluid, and some of the distortion, takes away the features. Part of it on that one is missing. Yeah. All the lipsticks run.
And how do you go about choosing the people that maybe you feature in them?
I always wanted to do portraits, and very much sort of admired pop culture genre, pop art, art, especially art of New York, pop music.
Amazing. Wow, and that all comes through. I think we've probably got a lot of shared influences of things that we both like.
I'm a child of the 70s.
Are you? Okay, I'm one of the 80s, but we're not far out.
No.
Amazing. So, should we take a look at some of the bigger pieces that you've made?
To.
I'd like to understand a bit more about this, because I think this is a fantastic piece. So, what's going on with that?
So this followed on really from pop culture, and this is one of the iconic images of the Kennedys.
Sure.
But I wanted to do bigger pieces. So I took the image, I put it through several digital processes and then blew it up. And again, purely by accident, I found out as I was printing it, because I was running low on ink, it distorted. And I also wanted to make each piece sort of like an individual piece of art. You know, if you take a piece that makes no sense in itself, but when they're all joined together, and I spray painted some.
Wow. Maria really likes it.
Yeah.
Maria says it's divine.
Oh, thank you, Maria. Much appreciated.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It's a really cracking piece. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. I'd like to do it even bigger, actually.
You could, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it could go almost any size, and you're right, each of these is a painting in its own right. But how do you feel about the digital thing in relation to painting? I mean, painting's still relevant to you. You haven't abandoned it for the computer.
No, I think it's very much part of the Instagram, Facebook age.
Yeah.
Why not use every tool that's available to you?
Yeah.
It can change images completely. It can give something different that paint can't give.
Yeah. For sure. So it's another tool in the painter's toolbox.
Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Should we take a look at this? Okay. This is amazing, everyone. I really love this piece. Isn't that just stunning? Now, Nigel, how have you made it to start with?
Well, this actually took a process of about a month. And every night I would put small amounts of paint over the canvas in various areas, and I'd go over it with a card, scraping it through, and then it was continuously layered up, and there's probably colours behind there that can't even see the light of day now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the lovely things about it, is the history that it's kind of been through. And for me, it's just a really beautiful thing, and it's interesting in the rest of your work because it's a very abstract thing, and you're dealing with very representational, very real images, and then you've got this going on at the same time, and I think that's really, really, really fascinating that you're playing both ends of the spectrum.
I think it's because I've always followed all aspects of art, and again I think it reflects back to my passion for the New York style of artist, Jackson Pollock, and abstract art, and I like the fact on this that your eye actually can't focus on one piece. It just keeps on darting from area to area.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, and should we have a look at one more?
Yes.
Oh, nice, that's amazing. Right, this piece. Lottie loves it. Thank you, Lottie. So what's going on here?
Well, this is pure digital. I actually stood in front of the TV with my iPad on taking shots of a pop video. I wanted an image that wasn't out there. I wanted my own image.
Yeah.
I then put it through about 20 different processes and digital programs, and then took it to be professionally printed.
It's beautiful. And you see it, this is a good question, do you see it as a painting?
Yes, very much so. I mean, a couple of people have said Andy Warhol in its style.
For sure.
Because the features are distorted, there's a lot of bright colour in there.
Yeah.
So I take that as a compliment. It wasn't intended that way.
Oh. Nigel, can I ask you a quick question before you go? So you came to painting quite late on in your life.
Yes.
And it's quite, maybe it's a personal question, but what does painting mean to you? Why is painting important to you?
I think it takes me to another place of total distraction. I can get so absorbed in it. It's my absolute passion.
Yeah. Amazing.
I couldn't be without
it. And looking at other paintings, I mean, you're a big art fan as well. So it's almost like you're an art fan, actually, before you were an art maker.
Very much so, and that's where I've been influenced along the line.
Wow. Have you got any hints or tips for the guys at home?
Just whatever you want to do, just take a chance, go for it. Even if it's a disaster to begin with, give it another go. That's how I started.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got a big pile of work that's awful. And
we all do.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that. Nigel, thank you for coming.
Thank you,
It's
Stuart.
been amazing to see you. Thank you. Everybody, say goodbye to Nigel. Nigel, everyone!
Bye.
Thank you, Nigel. See you soon.
Bye.
Wow. What a bloke, and what an amazing painter, and a true inspiration. And it just goes to show, you don't need to go to art school, you don't need any fancy situation going on. You can make, and you can express, and you can make really great stuff. But unfortunately, in this art world of ours, not everybody's as lovely as Nige. The art world has some quite big, hairy, scary rotters roaming round. It's time to look at the art world's smelliest rotters.
They're smelly and they're rotten. They're the smelly rotters.
That's right, it's the part of the show where we take a look at some of the dastardly deeds of some artists from history. Already, our wall of rotterism is growing quite significantly. Anish is holding his position at the top. But let's see if this week one of your votes might knock him off the top spot. First of all, we have these guys. Me and Reggie Cray, the Cray brothers. Now these, if there was going to be a book written about gangsterment, these boys are like the gospel. In East London, back in the day, they were a force to be reckoned with. Now I'm sure all of you know about what these guys got up to, but how many of you have actually seen their art? They're actually really good painters, and their stuff sells for quite a lot of money, up to 20 grand for something like this. So I'm going to pop them in the middle, and the way the Smelly Rotters works is you tell me whether you think the craze should go up or down. So get voting, craze up or craze down. Now the next one, this is a tough one. I'm even scared to talk about this guy. This guy is Wayne Lowe, and in the early 90s, Wayne Lowe was the first person to go into a US high school with a gun, and Wayne shot and killed 2 kids and injured 4 other people. Quite rightly, he's serving life in prison, but he's also making art. He makes these almost photographs with these really detailed bits of embroidery on them, and he's actually represented by a decent gallery, and these things sell. Now the interesting thing about this bloke is all the money that he makes from his art goes to sponsoring kids to do performing arts. So kids who couldn't afford to do performing arts, he's sponsoring them. So once a rotter, always a rotter. I mean, how do you forgive something like that? I think he's like a complete rotter. I'm going to put him there. You guys tell me, Wayne up or Wayne down. I don't know if embroidery can really make up for that. Right, now this lady, she's our last one. This is Jodi Arias. Now, Jodi's biggest crime, in my opinion, is inflicting her art on the world. I mean, the stuff this woman makes is just absolutely abysmal. Now, she's actually in prison. She's doing life as well for murder. She's actually a sociopath, and she's convinced herself that she didn't do it. Now, all the work she sells, and arguably they sometimes make $300 if she's lucky, she's hoping to use to mount an appeal to get her out. Now, the jury is pretty unanimous on the fact that she did it. So, murderer, making art to pay for her retrial. What do you think? I'm going to pop her somewhere in the middle. So, Claire and Emily say Wayne up. Everyone's saying Wayne up, basically. Everyone's saying Wayne up. Okay. No one's really mentioning her. Yeah, I don't think she's that bad. And then like the craze somewhere in the middle. Okay, so that is basically it for the smelly rotters. So any movement on this about what you might want to do or change? You happy with that? Wayne at the top, Craven at middle, and the woman at the bottom? Yeah, that's good. Okay, and yeah, so I think that's pretty much a fair order. Hey! Oh, for God's sake. Come on, what's this? How many times, come on, put it down, put it down. How many times have I told you I want a nice clean show this week? You cocked it up last week, it wasn't bananas, you came out, and at the end you can put, I'll tell you what, you can put that down as well before you do someone a mischief. Now just sit down there, go on. Can you guys keep an eye on him? Because, my God, I'm telling you, like last week, it took me literally 2 hours to get all that mess out of my hair. You should try living with a forelock like this, absolute nightmare. Right. Yeah, I think you're right. The guy is a rotter. It's good that his art's paying for good stuff now. I kind of agree with you there, but I think he's pretty rotten myself. Okay, we're going to play the next part of the show, which is Brilliant or Bananas.
Brilliant or bananas, bananas or brilliant, brilliant or bananas.
Now, the way this bit works is I'm going to show you a little video we made before about an artist I really like. And while you're watching it, you have to tell me if you think she's brilliant or bananas, and then we'll see whether she's brilliant or bananas. Okay, hit it, Liam. I thought it'd be really interesting to take a quick look at the work of this lady, Yayoi Kusama. Now, she is the master of ultimate dotty spottiness. She's been putting dots all over the place for decades and decades. Fashion, installation, performance, all sorts of stuff. And for the last 30 years, she's decided that she wants to live inside a psychiatric facility in Japan, and that's where she makes most of her work, only occasionally coming out for the odd exhibition and show. I think she's absolutely marvellous because most of her work comes from the idea of spreading peace and love. She sees all of us as dots in the cosmos, the earth as a dot, the sun as a dot, and dots have a profound sense of meaning to her. But you tell me, is she brilliant? Are dots brilliant? Or is the whole concept completely and utterly bananas? Okay, so Kitta and Claire, you say it's brilliant. What do the rest of you think? Is it brilliant? Vic, what do you think?
Brilliant.
Vic thinks it's brilliant. Liam?
Brilliant.
Mr. Banana Man? You say it's banana. He's obviously going to say it's bananas, isn't he? Alice, you think it's brilliant, but bananas? Yeah, I think it's bananas, but I think bananas can be brilliant. There's only one thing to do, really, isn't there? We need to run that barometer and find out, Liam.
It's brilliant!
Okay, so the results are in. It's obviously completely and utterly brilliant! Ah! Yeah, it was brilliant. Of course Yayoi Kusama's brilliant. We love her. She's absolutely amazing. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little look. I was telling you before that although there's not a bucket load of paintings in new museums and the biennales are full of bonkers installations and interactive stuff and public art, actually when it comes to the art market, painting kind of dominates. So I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at the top 5 living artists and how much their work makes at auction, to put it in a bit of perspective. At number 5, it's Ed Ruscha's 1963 painting Smash, which sold in 2014 for $30,405,000. In at number 4, it's Jasper John's Flag, which he made in 1983, sold in 2014 for $36 million. At number 3, it's Chi Ruzhou The Grand Snowing Mountains, which he made in 2013, sold in 2016 for $39,575,000. In at number 2, it's Gerhard Richter Abstracts Build, sold in 2015 for $46,300,000 US. And at number 1, it is Jeff Koons Balloon Dog in orange, made in 1994 and sold in 2013 for an absolutely whopping $58,405,000. Wow, so only Jeff at the very top wasn't actually a painter. So it seems that painting is pretty important. Now, this is the bit of the show where we take a look at your homework and answer some of your bigger questions. It's time for the crit.
It's time for the crit!
Now, this piece here is absolutely amazing. This is made by Daisy, age 11, and it is a beach in a box. Daisy's collected these beautiful shells and decorated the box. And Daisy, I hear you had a lot of fun and you really enjoyed making this. If you learn anything about art from art school, it's that. Follow what you enjoy. If it's fun, keep doing it and you're going to be an amazing artist one day. I loved seeing this. Now, Ashish's work. Ashish has sent his work all the way in from India, and it definitely has a resonance with the outsider art we were looking at last week, which is absolutely fantastic. He says he follows his subconscious and the flows and ebbs of nature, and the work kind of takes on its own energy. And I think, Ashish, I can't give you any advice, but follow that. Just follow that gut inspiration and see wherever the work leads you, because I know it's already led you to extraordinary places, and that's just going to keep opening up for you the more and more you do it. So you're absolutely on the right lines. Now, Alex, you've sent in this piece of work, which is great. You sent in quite a few, actually, and I really want to show everybody them because I think they're fantastic. But you've asked me quite a big question. You said, if I was the Minister for Culture in England, what would I change? And I've been chewing this over for a little bit. And do you know what? I just want to change the culture. There's just not enough art. There's not enough accessibility to art. And this idea of art being not taught in schools is absolutely ludicrous. I want people to understand that art is important for all of us. And also, artists aren't some kind of weird leper-like thing that belongs in a museum. Actually, we've got something to give. And if I was the Minister for Culture, I'd put art right at the top of the agenda, because I think good art makes for a better world. Now, on that subject, it's time to think about setting you your homework task. It's all right, Daisy. Now, thanks for showing it. It's time for your homework. So I thought this week we're going to do some painting, obviously, because it's a painting show. And I thought, if you think back of that piece I showed you where it said smash, what I want you to do is paint a word in whatever your style is. So whatever your medium, materials, doesn't matter. Nigel probably do some sort of digital transfer thing. You know, Daisy, you might make it out of shells. I don't know. But you're going to use one word and you're going to describe to me what painting means. Does it mean freedom, escapism, excitement, pain, suffering? I don't know. But do your homework, send it in to artschool@stuartsemple.com. And as always, the ones that get featured with Culture Hustle vouchers. I'm nearly at the show and I don't want to leave you, but I have to. So I've got 60 seconds left to answer some of your questions. So let's see what we've got asked. Here we go. Who's going to set the clock? What is this? Okay, Danny, how do I escape starving artist syndrome? I can't sell anything, so I can't afford new materials. Danny, there's no shame in getting a job to fund your art. Work, earn the money, make your art. Saffron, I use oil paints because they work best for me for portraits. Is there any way of achieving the same depth with acrylics? Yes, there is. Use good mediums, you need heavy body acrylics. Fernaz, will you continue with art school in the fall? I hope so. If you lot want me, tell me you want me, I'll come back. Emily, how do you make your brush strokes so flat it looks magic? I don't really know. I used to write mediums. I might demo that next week for you. Where can we see Nigel's work? On the internet. I'll post a link link on the video later. Okay, so that's basically it. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll try and answer more of your questions next time. And oh, what? I knew it. I flipping. Oh, it doesn't even taste nice. You're going down. Banana Man's going down. I'll see you guys next week, 7 o'clock, right here on Facebook. Tell all your friends about it. We need more people. All right. I love you all. That was Art School. Bye.
Art School, it's Art School. It's like normal school, but more arty. 'Cause it's
ArtSchool.
Oh my